Hello everybody, my name is Nolan Brewer, and today I'm going to be talking about video game music and why I think video game music is awesome. And that's a quote from me. You can quote me on that. These are all games that have inspired my work in some way. Games inspire me when you have a combination of high quality music, storytelling, and visuals that all complement each other really well. I think when it comes to these games, they can inspire me in multiple ways. It could either be the soundtrack itself, it could be the art, the story, or just the overall atmosphere of the game. I think when a game isn't afraid to be different or unique, it's especially inspiring. Don't be afraid to look outside of what's popular. There's a lot of great games out there, and some of these games have even been life-changing to me. When starting out, it takes time to create a portfolio that has value in the industry. It took me around 5 years to get to where I am now as a composer. When you start, you're gonna create works that you aren't the most proud of. That's okay. It's really important to just keep trying because you never know the opportunities it could lead to. And I also believe that releasing music is really important. If you want to be a musician or a composer, you can't just keep your music to yourself forever. And songs that I wasn't sure if anyone enjoyed besides me actually ended up becoming my most popular ones. It's hard to be objective about your art, especially after working on it for so long. But at some point, you need to release your music in the world if you really want to do this. Don't be afraid to be seen as imperfect. I think if perfection even existed, at least in the art world, it would be really boring. When it comes to creating a demo reel, I have a few tips to keep in mind. I think definitely showcase works that you're really proud of, but I would say that a lot of the times people who are looking at your demo reel are pretty busy if they are someone who is probably going to hire you. I think that they're probably looking at a lot of other composers' demo reels, and they might not have a lot of time to look at all the songs that you've created, especially if you have a lot of them released. So I would say keep it 2 minutes or under and put it at the top of your website or landing page. And if it's not public, then I guess you don't have to worry about that. Here's an example of a demo reel that I created. When it comes to AAA and indie studios, there's quite a few differences between the two. AAA is bigger studios, and it includes healthcare benefits, and rates often work similar to that of a regular job, but you often have less creative freedom. Indie studios are smaller studios, and depending on size, you might not have things such as healthcare benefits. Your rates can vary, but you often have more creative freedom. When it comes to rates for composing, you can set your own rates depending on the project. I would say that if you're working in the indie scene, I think it's more common that you'll get to set your own rates. And an example of a rate that you can set for yourself that I think is pretty reasonable, and a friend of mine has told me he's done, and I'm starting to do myself, is $150 per completed minute of music. And I think it's also important to not be afraid to charge higher rates, because your art has value, and I think you shouldn't be afraid to charge what you think your art is worth. I think collaborations are really important in the industry as well. This is a list of people that I've had the pleasure of collaborating with and even become friends with. And I would say that these people are actually people that I might have idolized at some point. And something I've learned from getting to work with these people is that we're all just people. We all share the same 24 hours in a day. We all have our own struggles. I think I've learned a lot from working with these people, and I highly recommend reaching out to people that you want to work with, even if you think you might not be able to, because you never know the opportunities that it could land. I also think it's just a lot of fun to do. A really important thing I would say to keep in mind is that numbers doesn't equal success. Don't chase numbers. I think it has some meaning to success, but it's not the bigger picture of things. I think you can have popularity, but you're not creatively fulfilled. And I think there's a list of things that can probably be defined as success for a lot of people, but I think success is defined by the individual. I think don't let anyone else define success for you, and it's really up to you. I think game jams are really important in the game industry. There's a lot of great games that have come from them, and basically game jams are where you join up with a team of people online, or you can do it by yourself if you really wanted to, and you all join together to make a video game. And usually this is done within a time frame or a certain theme in mind. For example, you have 2 weeks to make a game about fishing, or you have a month to make a game about dream exploration. There's a ton of different examples out there, but you can find them all on itch.io, and you can start your own game jam over there if you really want to. And I really recommend it. Speaking of game jams, I had the pleasure of doing a game jam project, and for one of the songs that I made for the game jam, I was given a reference for the song, and I think references are pretty common when you're a video game composer, because developers oftentimes are looking for a specific vibe for a level that they created, and they want it to be close to that vibe in some way, and usually that vibe is something inspired by another piece of work. So they might often give you a reference to look at. I think testimonials are really important in the game industry, and who you know. I think if it weren't for being already friends with my friend Jaren, I think I might not have had the opportunity to work on that game jam, because I had no idea about it previously, and I did not have any sort of contact. So he sent over my contact to the people of the game. Here's a real world scenario of why testimonials matter. Hi Nolan, Jaren Christ sent me your Discord as he had to step out of a game project I'm the lead on. If you'd be interested in filling in his spot, we're making a gothic action RPG where you play as a hunter slaying shadowy monsters with an emphasis on preparation and planning. This would essentially be a hobby project with the potential for payment if the game wins, as the winning games are paid to be published onto Steam. It would be unfair to leave out that you would be joining in the middle of the jam with only a week left. I understand if the lack of payment or the last minute nature is a deal breaker. Regardless, let me know if you're interested. And I think that I decided to take on that role because I thought it would be a great portfolio project and that it would be a good learning opportunity for me, which it eventually ended up being. And I think game jams, even if you get to a point where you are able to charge money for your projects and all of that stuff, I think game jams are still a great learning experience, and I don't see myself stopping them anytime soon, even if I am on bigger game projects and whatnot, because personally I just enjoy doing it a lot. By the way, my friend Jaren is also a great musician and composer as well. He's composed for some great indie games, such as Lunacid and Lost in Vivo. I really recommend that you check them out. Here's some more examples of testimonials that I've gotten and I have placed on my website. I think it's really important that if you get some kind of review or testimonial that you put it somewhere on your website or landing page. I'm not going to read all of these, but if you want to, you can read them. This also relates in some way, but I have a podcast, or it's kind of a hybrid between interview and podcast show. I'm not sure how to explain it. You might just have to listen to it, to be honest, to understand kind of what the deal is, but it's called Artist Corner, and it's rated 5 stars on Spotify. And this relates to everything I've been talking about because a lot of the people I have on have been video game composers in the industry. I don't just have video game composers on, I also have a lot of other types of creative people, such as actors or sound designers. And yeah, basically we just talk about their creative process, the industry, and whatever else we find interesting. But these are some reviews that I've gotten, and I think these are some pretty great reviews. And yeah, here's a bunch of people that I've had on the show, and it's been a blast getting to talk with all these people and even becoming friends with a lot of them. I even had the pleasure of meeting one of them in real life, and we had a lot of fun just eating food and chatting, walking around. And I really recommend that regardless of what industry you're in, it's really important to just be yourself and be kind to people, and also just be friendly, because I think it's better to enjoy working with the people that you're around, because the people you're around definitely have a really important impact on how the work gets done. You might recognize some of these games. I think if you do, the ones you'll recognize are Halo Infinite and Apex Legends. There's different pathways you can go down in the industry. You can be a AAA composer, you can be an indie game composer, but you can also be both if you wanted to. For example, the composer Joel Korolitz, who worked on Halo Infinite, he's also worked for some great indie games such as Eastward. I think there's different pathways, and it's up to you to decide that. I do have some tips for emailing as well, and I think even if they aren't on email as much, I think these tips could still work, and it has worked for me in the past. I would say it's important to keep it quick and concise. I even put quick in the subject line usually. This is because these people are often pretty busy, and they often get a lot of emails throughout the day, and they might not have a whole lot of time to read a lot of them. If they see that the subject line has quick in it, and then they go to read the email and it is a quick read, then chances are that they will respond to the email. However, don't take it personally if they don't respond. You never know what someone has going on, and I would say be prepared before you write an email. I think it's really important to think about what you want to say before you say it. For example, with public speaking, I'm not the best at it, and I think personally I could prepare better for it usually. Sometimes I forget what I am about to say. Even when recording this video, I've forgotten it, but you won't know that because I edited this video. And I think just overall, be prepared. You're writing an email, you're able to do some research beforehand since you're not actually talking to them in person. And yeah, I think overall, just be prepared and think about what you want to say. And obviously reread the email for any spelling mistakes and all that. When it comes to rejections, there's a really interesting thing that I've learned about it. I think Adam Savage has talked about it in a really easy to understand way. And basically what he says is Q-tip, quit taking it personally. Sometimes things will just be out of your control, and you can't always change people's opinions of you. And he has a great story that I think you should listen to. Here's an example of a real-world rejection that I faced. I'll just read it out loud really quick. Hey again, I'm sorry to say we didn't choose you this time, but I did want to let you know that I think your music is great. I'm a very melody-driven person when it comes to my taste in music, and I think the melodies and vibe in the Midnight Transmission original soundtrack are wonderful. In this case, rather than it being something wrong with your application, it was just that the competition was incredibly strong and someone else was a slightly better fit. That being said, I would like to keep you on file for future projects, as I do think you have something special in terms of talent. So even though I was rejected in this situation, I think I still got something out of it, because they didn't necessarily say anything was wrong with the application. They actually enjoyed my music, and they even put me in their list of contacts. I think that you never know the opportunities that can land from trying to get a job that you want, or whatever else it might be, because even if you don't get everything that you want in that situation, it could either be a great learning experience, or you still get something out of it. I think the worst that could happen is that you don't try at all, and then you never know what the outcome could be. The same thing goes for other things in life, such as friendships and crushes, but don't go to me for advice on that last part. Overall, I think being in this industry, or any creative industry to be honest, is a process. I think we're always learning. It takes a lot of time, but I really believe that you can do it. It's taken me a long time to get where I am, but I'm really proud that I've worked and it was really worthwhile for me to invest that time. With that being said, I have a few end plugs that I'd like to say. I released some new songs recently. I have a new EP that just came out, and I also have a collaboration song with my friend and composer Jaren Christ. So you can check that out on all major streaming platforms if you'd like. And I also have an upcoming video game soundtrack that will have 50 songs and has been in the works for 3 years. I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be something really special, and I'm really proud of it, and it's been a lot of fun working on it. So stay tuned for that. With that being said, I'm Nolan Brewer, and thanks for coming to my TED Talk.